Hey guys, it's Pastor Josh coming to you from, as you can tell, New York City, and we're having an awesome time here. Right behind me, Times Square. Check it out. I'll give you a quick shot there. Is that not incredible or what? This is where it all happens, guys. This is where you see TRL being filmed. This is where you see the ball being dropped on New Year's Eve, and it's such a blast being here, getting to see all of this. We've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, we've seen some really cool people. We've seen some really strange people this week. I'm looking forward to getting back with you guys in Victoria and getting back into the swing of things. It's going to be an incredible fall season, back to school bash coming up in a couple weeks, man. You don't want to miss that. I'm so excited about what God's doing here. So excited to be a part of your life. And if you look around, you see all of these signs. These signs are here on purpose. They're not here just because um, people wanted to put up something to look cool. They're trying to get some people to make a decision to buy their product and to make a choice to support their company. And I love having all these choices. I mean, you go down this street, man, it's just amazing all the different products are being advertised. And that's the cool thing about God is that He's given us all the ability to choose this great freedom. But this great freedom, it's a big responsibility, isn't it? Last week we learned how we're separate from the rest of God's creation because He's given us this freedom. And we don't have to be controlled by our own urges and instinct. We can be controlled by God's wisdom. But what happens when we get in life and we just want to do our own thing instead of what we feel like God wants us to do? I mean, I've been tempted to do my own thing many times. I've thought about it several times. I'd rather do this or rather do that, maybe instead of doing what God wants me to do. And we're all tempted with that. But it's pretty dangerous when we decide to go our own way. And I want to talk to you about that tonight. Um, it reminds me of a story. I was taking care of our little boys, Caleb and Tyler. Caleb's 5, Tyler's 2, and just turned 3. But he was 2 at the time, and Kara had gone for the day, and I was stuck cooking dinner. So I cooked the boys a really nutritious meal, mac and cheese and Spam. And man, I really worked hard at it. But as I was cooking the dinner, Tyler came in and he was like, Daddy, I want an ice cream sandwich. And I was like, Ty, you can't have an ice cream sandwich. We got to eat dinner first. It's just not the right time. And he was upset and he wanted his way. And I was like, Tyler, I'm your dad. And I know what's best for you. So wait out there, go watch some more SpongeBob, and we'll get to this in a little bit. So I left the room because I was done cooking the mac and cheese. And man, I walked out and I came back in a few minutes later and I hear something rustling going on in the freezer. And I was like, what's going on in the freezer? I'm like, surely not. And sure enough, I was right. Tyler had gotten out an ice cream sandwich. He had eaten about half of it. He had chocolate all over his face, in his teeth, his shirt. And I was like, Tyler, what are you doing? And he jumped real high and he dropped the ice cream sandwich. He started crying. And I had to walk out of the room because it was a pretty funny moment. And I was about to start laughing. But I didn't want him to see that because I knew that that would totally mess up the moment that I was about to have with him. So I walked out, got my composure, came back in, and I tried to explain to this 2-year-old why he had done wrong and why it's so important for him to listen to me and do things my way. And it reminds me of the story in the Bible that Jesus told about it. This guy called the prodigal son. This one son who decided to do things his own way. He didn't care that his father was, he was mistreating his father. He didn't care that he was making wrong choices. He just wanted what he wanted right then and right there, instead of being patient and doing what his father wanted him to do. I want to read the passage of scripture. It's found in Luke chapter 15. I'm gonna pull this up here on my iPhone. Pretty cool application there called YouVersion. It's great, especially if you have a daily quiet time, which I hope you all do. Tells you what to read for the day. Luke 15, verse 11. Check this out. It says, to illustrate the point further, Jesus told them this story. A man had 2 sons. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate now before you die. So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. A few days later, this younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land. And there he wasted all his money in wild living. Okay, this is what just happened. The younger son comes up to his dad, who was still alive, and said, I want my money now. Now, you're not supposed to do that. Hello? You're supposed to wait till the person passes away, then you receive your inheritance. At times in that culture, the dad would retire and maybe he would say, okay, here's my sons. I want to go ahead and give them their portion now so that I can retire and I don't have to work so hard. But the son was never supposed to initiate that conversation and say, hey, dad, hurry up and die already so I can have my money. But this is kind of what the guy said. He didn't really respect his dad. He didn't want to do the right thing. And because he was the younger, he was only going to get 1/3. The older brother would get 2/3, twice as much. So he took his 1/3 and he ran away. To do what? To live wild. To do exactly what he hadn't been trained to do. To do what he wanted to do in his heart. To be controlled by his own instincts, his own lust. This is what happened. It says, about the time the money ran out, a great famine swept over the land and he began to starve. So in other words, the dude's making bad choices, relationally with his dad. He's not really thinking through his future right. Every choice that we make carries a consequence, good or bad, depending on the choice that we make. So he's out there making bad choices. He's disrespecting his dad in the meantime. He's not using his money wisely. And guess what? It all ran out. There's a famine in the land. It's dry. In other words, there's no food being produced. There's no crops. This dude's starving. How many of you know that you're in a pretty bad place when you ain't got no money, you're starving, and nobody in your family wants to be around you? Pretty bad. So this is what happened. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pods, or the beans, I guess you could say, he was feeding the pigs looked good to him, but no one gave him anything. Now, as a Jew, Jews don't have anything to do with pigs. They hate pigs because pigs are gross. They think that they're unclean animals. They would never touch a pig. A Jew, if he sees a pig, he'll walk to the other side of the street just to stay away from it. But now this Jewish boy has found himself in a position where he's doing the things he thought he would never do to survive. He's living a lifestyle that's totally something that he did not dream about when he was young. When he filled out in kindergarten, when they said, what do you want to be when he grows up? He did not say, I want to be a pig farmer. It just wouldn't happen. He thought that would never happen to him. But you know what? The choices that we make carry consequences. And when you make bad choices over and over and over again, you'll find yourself in a place that you thought you would never be. It's a nightmare. And this happened to this guy because of the choices he made. So if you want your life to stink, just do things your way. And this is what ended up happening. In verse 17 of Luke 15, it says, when he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home, even the hired servants have enough food to spare, and here I'm dying of hunger. So he comes to this low point. And God will let that happen to us sometimes. He'll let that happen when we get to this low point in our lives where nothing's going good for us, nothing's going right. And it's in those moments that we have to come to our senses. And he started rehearsing, man, what am I going to tell my dad? I got to make things right with my dad. So he started he started thinking about it right. He started saying, man, I've got to make a difference. I've got to make this right. But listen, he didn't even have to be there. He could have been at home enjoying his life, working hard. He didn't want to work hard. He wanted to do things his way. He wanted to be lazy. So many things that he allowed to control him that weren't right and weren't positive. So let me ask you a question. What happens to us when we make decisions that say, you know what, I only want my way? We're not thinking about what God wants. We're just thinking about our own desires. I want you guys to talk about it for a little bit. I got a panel on the stage, some of my friends that are there with you, your leaders, and they're going to talk about this. I want you to listen up. I want you to pay attention. If you've got questions, maybe raise your hand and really think about the dangers that happen in our life that come to us when we choose to do things our way. And I hope you get something out of tonight. I'll be back in just a second.